So yeah, and that was within the Army Cadets. And then those guys became strong friends. We'd travel away together a lot, and we would meet every single year at the same time at the same place. And it would always be the Saturday before Christmas, and be the same bar at the same time. And we started that when we were, I think, 17 years old. Yeah. This year coming up, actually 16 years old, because this year coming up is the 30th year that we've done it.
Amazing.
And I've missed 4 years in 30.
Amazing.
And these are the people that I would call if all hell broke loose, and have done on occasion.
Okay, Peter, so of all the people you know and you come in contact with and you've been sort of lucky enough to, or fortunate enough to call your friends, let's say, what 3 friendships would you hold the dearest?
Friendships?
Yes.
Okay.
These current friendships or friendships that may have otherwise stopped being friendships?
The assumption is that I have had 3 friends. Yeah. No, one thing you'll find with indigos is that they tend to resonate very much at a deeper level with people of same ilk, birds of a feather kind of deal. I would say Thea is obviously my best friend as well as my partner. Yeah, that's a very deep level of connection. Very happy to have, because we see very much eye to eye. There's an age difference of almost a generation, if you like. But we finish the same sentences. We see the world the same way. In fact, our kind of standard response is that nobody gets us. Not meaning nobody, but it's very rare. We're just on a different frequency. It's kind of radio gaga. Who else? My parents. Obviously I had a great relationship with my mum and dad. But and then you evolve. We always have a bestie, or BFF as I tend to be abbreviated to now, acronymed out. And going through school, I had best friends that I now wouldn't even know what happened to them or if they were still alive. It's transitions, it's cycles. Yeah. So I would say that I do have a bunch of friends that the friendship is very, very strong, and they actually came out of initially my association or membership of the initially county shooting team, and then the English shooting team. I was a marksman for the ACF for a long time, and we'd travel away every weekend on ranges, whether we were sighting sniper rifles for the police. I remember at one point we had some fun, or we were essentially just practicing for high level competition. And this is open sights, 600 meters, no telescopic optics or anything like that. And 600 meters, that's 6 football pitches end to end, and you've got to get around the size of your fingernail in something the size of a tennis ball. Wow. And that's not just. It's not just the actual ability to shoot. You've got to judge and interpret wind. Predominantly is the biggest factor there as well. So and that was within the Army Cadets. And then those guys became strong friends. We'd travel away together a lot, and we would meet every single year at the same time at the same place. And it would always be the Saturday before Christmas, and be the same bar at the same time. And we started that when we were, I think, 17 years old. Yeah. This year coming up, actually 16 years old, because this year coming up is the 30th year that we've done it. Amazing. And I've missed 4 years in 30. Amazing. And these are the people that I would call if all hell broke loose, and have done on occasion. In fact, a specific time which I'm not going to go into now, but will be revealed in one of my upcoming books, which is more my autobiography at a certain time that I'll allude to, that I was in a bit of trouble and made a telephone call, and the first response back after a few hours was, do you have the budget to essentially the conversation, listen, we spoke to several members of the SAS, and they're willing to put you in a Hercules, right? They know I'm an advanced skydiver. Halo me out at 16,000 feet, 18,000 feet, with oxygen. Land in a certain ocean, get picked up by a rigid radar, and taken to shore in order to get you out of the trouble you're in right now. And but it's $100 grand, and at that time I'm like, dude, if I had 100 grand, I would pay that. That sounds so awesome. That is real life James Bond shit right there. But yeah,
you're not in danger, just for the sake of it.
You know,
why not?
And anyway, within a few more hours, they got a whole different plan, and it was and we put in this plan, executed, and yeah, these are the guys I'd call if literally if I was being held at gunpoint, or if I had a problem. Or if my cat was stuck up a tree at 2 in the morning. Yeah, those are the guys I would call. So we've got a very deep friendship. There's a small core group of us, but again, every year for 30 years this year we've met. And it's those kind of friendships are very, very deep.
Yeah.
I had a lot of very good friends when I was working with Tony Robbins, because again, you're coming from different levels of consciousness. You're coming from a place of really wanting to serve and contribute, and that builds a strong friendship. I've had strong friendships in skydiving, because that builds a certain bond. You get in an airplane, and at 12,000 feet the red light comes on. You turn to the person next to you and you say, can you give me a kit check? And he checks your pin and he checks your straps and everything else, and he taps you on the shoulder and gives you a thumbs up. He's basically saying you're good to go, and you're trusting him with your life.
Totally.
Now, and that builds a very interesting connection. It's a very interesting fraternity amongst skydivers that really has a special bond, apart from the fact we're all loopy-loo because we want to jump out of airplanes. Yeah, and we've got a certain sort of adrenaline rush that we get out of that, and a certain affinity for embracing uncertainty. But that little tap on the shoulder, you're trusting someone. Like, how many times do you do that? 5 times a day. It is an interesting question, but I don't think I could pick 3. Obviously, the deepest friends you want to be, I guess for me have been the people I've been closest to, like say my partner or my parents. But you go through levels of evolution, and for different reasons, and you either fall out because somebody doesn't fit your pictures, or something happens, and you then have rules that backed up by pride that you then keeps you from re-engaging. You see that a lot, or you just grow out. Again, like I've said on relationships, the purpose of a relationship is not to be happy. It's not to expect somebody else to make you happy. If you think that, you're in Disneyland. It's to essentially a crucible for learning how to embrace your own disowned parts and foster a level of unconditional love. And to the degree that you're able to do that, and to that degree you'll have an incredible relationship. To the degree that you resist that, to the degree that you put rules around it, to the degree that you judge somebody else for not fitting your pictures or try to control them, and to that degree you're going to get presented lessons for you to transcend. There's many different aspects to why relationships end on there. But for best friends, I think my dad once said, if you can count them on one hand, you're lucky.
Yeah, I think that's a nice saying. But I'm going to throw the question at you again, but you can also include dogs in this answer, so it doesn't change the answer. I'm sure it does. But you mentioned Thea there, and that's something I want to touch on nicely, because as you say, best friend, soulmate, whatever these words we want to throw into there, but there's something magical and special between you, and that's quite clear for anybody that witnesses you two together. It's like when you go together, there's this bubble that suddenly forms around you, and it's not like you're excluding the world, but you can tell there's something else that you two share that which isn't available to others. What is it about Thea? What is it that's different? What is it that's resulted in you and I standing here now 5 years later talking about how she's your best friend?
What do you say? I mean, again, for some people, relationships are based a lot of the time on 2 things: proximity and chemistry. And then they evolve from there. And the friendship that has evolved, really, I mean, when Thea and I started, we were dating casually for about a year. She lived in England, I lived in Dubai. She wasn't looking for anything serious, neither was I. And I'd just come out of losing my mum a year before, so I was very much in a space where I wanted to not put a relationship on top of a foundation that required me to be comfortable with being alone, literally for the first time in my life. When I say alone, I mean like without any family. And so I knew that wasn't the time for me to go and, even though you're craving love and connection and support, you'd be having a relationship with someone for completely the wrong reasons. And so I left it a year plus, and I actually said after my mum passed away, I'll be single for at least a year. It was a year to the day that my mum died that I met Thea.
Wow.
And then we started dating casually. It was what I effectively called back then a proximity partner, and as long as people know and are aware of the game you're playing, and they're happy to play the same game, then there was no issues on that side. But we went away to Cuba almost as a kind of a sort of casual thing, fell in love in Cuba. And it was very, very interesting, because I do mind movies, kind of a multimedia vision board. I've done mind movies for years, They're very popular now. In fact, the company mindmovies.com has really accelerated since way back when I started using them. And it was 2012, and I'd done my mind movie that year for all the stuff I was looking to do in my life. I had a really good friend of mine, Shelley Sykes. She came over from Australia. She now lives in, I believe, in Malibu. And she's got a son, Rory, who I've mentored, and got cerebral palsy. She wrote an incredible, inspirational book called Callum's Cure. And she's been a really good friend. She's co-authored books with Edward de Bono, and she's just a beautiful soul. And she came over, stayed at the villa in Dubai. And she was traveling through on a conference and stayed over at the villa, and she was looking at the Mind movie, and she says, well, there's no relationship aspect on the Mind movie. Says, I'm not looking for a relationship right now, Shelley. I'm okay in part of my life right now. She says, that's nonsense. She says, unconditional love rules the universe. It's the foundation for it. You have to have love in your Mind movie. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, I came back. She'd taken a piece of paper, drawn a giant heart on it, and stuck it on my computer screen. I'm like, okay, I get the message. So I tagged onto the end of my 2012 Mind movie a Google image of a couple walking hand in hand, silhouetted on the beach, from the back. Yeah, and the tagline was, it'll happen when it's ready. And it was kind of like, you happy now?
Yeah.
And that was the last frame on my 2012 Mind movie. Anyway, I ended up breaking my heel at one of my famous parties in Dubai. Jumped out of my second-story window into my pool, and anyway, bad move. And with 40 other people in the pool. And I was not dancing salsa because I had my leg in a cast. I was able to heal the bones on X-ray within 2 weeks, which is something I teach on the master's side, which through the accelerated healing, through using the mind and quantum mechanics. But I remember sat there for the first 2 weeks in a leg cast, watching my friends dance salsa, thinking I can't dance. Oh, I know, I'll go to Cuba and have a couple of weeks intensive to catch back up. I thought, who do I know that I'd take to Cuba? I'm not a fan of Cuban women as a preference. I'm like, I'm single. It's like, I think some of the girls. Thea, the girl I see when I'm sort of in the UK, she's the most fun girl I know. Let's go over. I give her a call. I says, hey, honey, do you mind? How do you fancy a 2-week holiday in Cuba learning salsa at Christmas? Game as a pebble. Says, I'm in. Right. So we went over, and it was New Year's Eve. And she pulls me aside and says, hey, listen, we're on holiday with like 20 people. Says, people ask me, how did we meet? Are we together? She says, what do I tell them? And at that moment, I thought, something, it's been 1.5 years now since my mum passed. I'm like, I could really see this girl as my partner. And I said to her, says, how do you feel about being my only partner?
What was it? Because the description you gave then was the most fun girl, but I'm sure that's not the only thing that
we clicked, we connected. There was an energy, there was an unspoken level of being on the same frequency. Yeah, she was just that level of energy that we had. There was a spark there. There was a magic to it. And she turned around without a second's hesitation and said, absolutely, in a heartbeat. And sold a business. She had a juice bar in Nottingham. She sold that. She had another business in promotion. She sold that, and packed a suitcase, bought a one-way ticket to Dubai, and 6 weeks later we were living together.
Wow.
And that was 5+ years ago. I know. And she left the island a couple of days ago. She was all upset because she wanted to stay, but she's got her last year in college right now, doing her degree on footwear and fashion. It's a passion for hers, and I think most women, to be fair, designing shoes. And I'm missing her like mad and going to see her in a couple of days. So there's that level of spark. You never know. But what was so interesting, that was the last day of 2012. And you go to the last scene on my 2012 Mind movie.
Well,
and
of course, yeah.
Bang.
The absolute combination.
Life works like that,
Funny when you start noticing it, isn't it? Funny when it starts cropping up more and more and more and more and more.
I think we call that positive confirmation. So, I don't need a piece of paper signed by somebody who's not allowed to have sex, to tell me that I'm willing to spend the rest of my life with someone or not.